Welcome to Smash Writing. I'm Paul. This is Justin. Today we are reviewing Wicked. No. Cancellation there.
We have a sub.
We have a sub.
We're doing Dead Space Aftermath. You want to take over? Why am I telling you? I got the notes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dead Space Aftermath. We kick off in the Aegis, system aboard the USG O'Bannon, actually outside the USG O'Bannon, with the multiple bodies floating around. Another ship has come to see what the hell's going on here. And they enter into a full-on bloodbath. And there are 4 left alive. And they freak out whenever, the one of them, Nicholas, is going into a tailspin. He's going crazy. And the Marines bust in and have to shock them, knock them out. Because Nicholas opens fire on the Marines. And they need to know what's going. They get them aboard the ship and then they blow up the O'Bannon. And you see them talking and they're sending special interrogators to find out what happened. Because they need to know what went on with this ship. And what happened specifically. And they're like, if you don't find out what happened, bad things are going to happen to you. So they start getting pulled in one by one. It starts with Nicholas, who's going still insane. He thinks he's talking to someone who's Vivian, who's not there. It's his daughter. And
his deceased daughter.
He gets strapped into this chair, and they stimulate his worst fears to get him to talk.
It was burning alive.
Yeah, his was burning alive. But the story begins, and we noticed, it is them on their way to this planet that is dying. And it's their job to maintain the planet long enough so that they can collect these stones, we can say. They're part of a bigger glyph, artifact, and they need to collect stones. And he was the first one to find one, and when we touched it, he starts to hallucinate. He sees his daughter, Vivian, who died a number of years ago when she got hit by a car. At first he visions that, and then he envisions monsters trying to take her.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts hallucinating that these monsters are his crewmates as the monsters. And that sends him on to attack one group that's behind a gravity stabilizer, and he blows up the gravity stabilizer. And they manage to subdue him and get him loaded into prison. So back on the ship, they're like, we're going to put you in the cryostasis. And he busts loose, and he goes on a run, and the hallucination leads him out of the ship and into space. He jettisons himself and like a dozen guards into space. Next up is Alejandro. He is afraid of spiders.
Of all things. Come on now.
Which is weird that you'd have to do this, because he seems like he would talk.
Yeah, he really just had that vibe. He's like...
Yeah, like...
Because he was in, he's like, I don't even know thee. Come on now.
Like, the only one who wouldn't really talk to you is Nicholas, because he's crazy. And, so, he was aboard the stabilizer that was attacked. And,
when Nicholas...
Yeah, when Nicholas attacked them.
Yeah.
And just how bad this assault was. Now the whole planet is dying. And they just barely managed to make it back to their ship, the O'Bannon, before all hell broke loose. But even then, the O'Bannon is badly damaged. And that is where we figure out. The captain tells him a bit of the truth about this stone and everything, that it could cause psychological things, but they didn't know. And everything like that. And it pisses him off, but he has to go fix the ship before it explodes. And back on the ship, they wake him, they kind of stop him and stop him. He's like, they tell him, we're going to get you set up in a room and your family will be waiting for you when you get back. But they eliminate him the moment he steps out in the hallway. Because he's no use, he didn't come into contact with stone. Next up is Nicholas Schross, who's claustrophobic. He is the chief scientist on the O'Bannon, and he was the one who studied the artifact and cracked open this alien code. And we meet his wife and his kid, and that there's a bit of tension between them, and she thinks he's sleeping with his lab assistant, Isabella. I believe that was her name.
Yeah.
And he is. But the stone starts to drive him mad. And he decides he's going to run an experiment on a dead body, because the way he figures it, it can reanimate dead cells. Most living people would go insane if they'd handled it, but there is a select number who can handle it. But in his testing subject, he brings in a dead body. And it causes this hallucination on him to open the door and let the dead out. And that starts infecting all of the dead bodies and reawakening them. And he starts hallucinating. He hallucinates monsters and takes out 2 of them. That's pretty clearly his family.
Yeah, they didn't kind of hide that. Like, you kind of...
No, like, you kind of knew.
Yeah.
But he's the only one who doesn't know that. Even when they're torturing him to try to get him to admit it, he's not admitting it. But he's been affected by the stone, so after Cairo sleep, he goes and they get him into Cairo sleep this time. Now, next up is Isabel Cho. They don't show you what her fear is.
That is true.
She is tortured, but they don't show you what it is.
That is true.
And she tells them about the fair and when it started with him. And this is where you get the big monster attack. And their plan is they're going to throw the stone into the reactor core. And she ends up having to actually deck the scientist in the face to grab the stone herself and chuck it in there. She doesn't grab the stone, but the case that it's in. So she didn't come into contact. But before she could be eliminated, she's pulled away by the Overseer, who wants her to help do the cover-up. She refuses, so she is snatched and forced onto this table and kind of like lobotomized to where she's insane, and they frame her for the assault.
I thought they killed her.
No. She's lobotomized. That's why they showed a picture of like her drooling and out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they framed her for what happened on the O'Bannon. And that it was she sabotaged the ship. And that is Dead Space Aftermath.
And didn't they put one of them, like, was it Isaiah Clarke? Like, they put one of the members next to him in the, there was like a big, like, little name cameo there.
Oh, they found a third person who was on another ship. He was hiding out in an airlock or something like that.
And that's Isaiah Clarke.
I guess. I don't know.
Is Isaiah Clarke a big name in the games?
I never played the games.
Oh, okay. Leave a comment. Let us know about that one. It just the way they build that name appearance seems like it was something, a special character that maybe people wanted to be in this and it just wasn't. Well, first, you said this was like an hour and like 17 minutes. Didn't feel like it.
You said 17 minutes.
I said 20 or 7, something like that.
I'd say about hour 17.
Hour 17 minutes. When did we do the first one? Because this is part 2.
A few months ago.
Really?
Probably a year ago.
Okay. And these were all the same 4 characters in the first film.
No, I think these are different characters. I can't remember the first one.
My God. See, when you review so much, you just start to forget things. I feel like this would only make sense if those 4 characters were in the first film.
This was 10 months ago.
Well, when we record, it was probably like a year and a half ago. All right. Well, while we were on break, we learned something new.
See, I can only think of one positive in this movie. I did like the flowing CGI.
What do you mean flowing?
Every memory, every person's flashback, showed a different style of animation.
Okay, that explains why. Was it Strauss? Like when he did his flashback,
his spacesuit looked one way, and then
and Cutter's suit was a different way than when Cutter was talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
It was really noticeable during Isabella's, because Isabella's animation style during her flashback was badass. And this movie should have just been done in that style, because that looked great.
Yeah, I was wondering why, like, Cutter appeared to be in a different suit.
Yeah.
And all of that, and I also like when they were telling their lies, or when they were telling their accounts, didn't like the reading gave it like a 97% accuracy or something like that? 99. But it's cool that like the machine that they were using was telling you how accurate, like nobody was lying here. I don't know much about Dead Space as the game. I know I probably said that with the...
I know it's on my PlayStation waiting for me to play it.
And how long has it been there waiting?
At least 10 months.
since the last time we did the review of this. It's probably going to be another 10 months when we do the next film. Because
I think this is it.
I thought I seen something else more about it, but
this is just so by the numbers that it's boring. I didn't like the ending because it didn't give any of these characters agency. Like, sure, they had agency in their flashbacks, but we're not dealing with flashbacks here. There's a present time, and the present time they do nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. They're just sitting there recounting their events of how they all led up into the abandoned ship, and dealing with the outbreak that they were dealing with.
But that animation on Isabella's, that's so good.
Would that be the saving grace for you, or is there more?
No, that's not going to save them.
I just felt this was just boring. The pace was fine, I guess.
Well, it's because I didn't care about the animation in the real time.
Yeah, I get that. I think some things that they did was cool with the whole knowing the person's fear and assimilating the mind to make it feel like they are.
You never played on what is Isabella's.
Yeah, you kind of left that up in the air.
Yeah.
And now we may never know because she's a
vegetable.
Pretty much. I mean, we couldn't do our original idea. So this was a last minute substitute.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure we were probably going to come to this idea eventually.
Yeah.
So this was just sooner rather than later, and I'm glad we're kind of done and getting it over with. So the pacing was fine. It was just overall still boring, and that's weird because it's almost like it's almost like it doesn't make sense for me to say it. Where I was like, okay, it wasn't too long, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, but damn, it was boring. I don't think we have many positives on this.
No, I mean, I have no positives. The one positive was that animation style for Isabella Child. I do like the idea that they were switching up on the animation style, making everyone's memory in
their
own way.
Yeah,
that was creative.
That was about it.
Even if I didn't like some of them, it was still creative.
Yeah. Grade.
D.
I'm actually going to agree with that as well. D. I did like the change with the animation, with their viewing of their story. This kind of just felt like it was there. It's definitely something I'm going to forget about 10 months from now when we find out there's something else to watch on this. So it's a D. D for me. But what can you expect in a spur of the moment substitute? So until next time.
Bye-bye.